Push P.
In 2022, he was pushing P. In 2023, he was pushing a plea.
Is that true as it pertains to you, Mr. Kitchens?
Yes, ma'am.
He had to make a choice between prison and a social death sentence. He walked out of jail a free man, but the streets called him a traitor.
Why the Alfred plea, Gunna?
He's not making any statements right now, guys.
This is the story of how Gunna became a global phenomenon, and the impossible choice that forced him to walk the edge between loyalty and freedom, his art and the law, admiration and betrayal. Cause when the drip is too hard, you're bound to drown.
They say they gon' stop us getting rich. That's like saying you gon' drown a fish.
Before the chaos, there was the climb, and Gunna's come up was one of the smoothest, most stylish takeovers in the modern game. It all started with the sound, that effortless melodic flow that felt more like floating than rapping. His Drip Season mixtapes built a buzz in Atlanta, but it was Drip Season 3 in 2018 that was the real explosion. He told the Fader he had to go broke for music, pouring every dime he had into that tape, and the grind paid off.
It was hard, but I had to sacrifice. I had to know like which one, like what I wanted to do. If I really wanted music, then I had to stop anything that I was doing, anything, and put my mind, put my all, go broke for music, like everything for music, yeah.
Praised by critics and loved by the fans as his best work, the project did more than just launch a brand. This was the world's introduction to the king of drip and his whole crew. Then came Drip Too Hard. The chemistry with Lil Baby was just undeniable. That one record led to a Grammy nomination and a diamond plaque, cementing them as the next great duo in hip-hop. So what came next? Back-to-back #1 albums, Wunna and DS Forever. He was on another level, dropping hits, setting trends, and basically running the game. He had the money, the fame, the respect, but the foundation he built it on was planted in College Park soil. And to understand the fall, you gotta understand what he came from and who he came up with. Long before Gunna, he was just Sergio Kitchens, the youngest of 5 boys raised by a single mom in College Park, Atlanta. His mother, who ran a school cafeteria, was his first look at real perseverance, and his fashion sense, that was her too. While his pops was practical, his mom encouraged him to look nice. It's a lesson that clearly stuck. He was rocking True Religion and finding Gucci at consignment spots way before he ever had a deal. This wasn't a character for the cameras. The drip was in his DNA, but behind the fly fits there was tragedy. One of his 4 older brothers was shot and killed, a heavy loss that puts his story in a different light. He had the style, the ambition, and a certain toughness from his upbringing. But in the crowded, cutthroat Atlanta rap scene, how does a kid named Sergio Kitchens get the attention of a king? The answer came through a man named King. Every rising star needs a real cosign. Gunna got his from the most influential figure in Atlanta, Young Thug. The link up happened through a mutual friend, Keith King Troop. Tragically, Troop passed away in 2015, just months after introducing Gunna to Young Thug. Gunna said that loss didn't break his bond with Thug, it made them family. Thug signed him to his YSL record label, but he didn't try to mold him. Gunna said it himself, "He let me be myself."
Like he let me be myself, you know what I'm saying? He don't really try to like critique or criticize what I say or do. You know, he really just, you know what I'm saying, try to enhance whatever I'm working with, you know what I'm saying? Which is love. I was rapping before I even met Thug. So I just would say just keep grinding.
That enhancement led to a feature on Thug's legendary Jeffrey mixtape, putting him on tracks with Travis Scott and Gucci Mane. The anointment was complete. Thug gave him one piece of advice: stay in the studio. Thug had opened the door. Gunna stayed in the studio, built an empire of drip, and walked right through it to global stardom. But the very name that gave him his start, YSL, would soon become the anchor that threatened to drown him. May 2022. While DS Forever was still running the charts, a different kind of chart dropped, a 56-count RICO indictment. Gunna, Young Thug, and 26 others got swept up. The charges were staggering. Prosecutors argued YSL wasn't just a record label, but a straight-up criminal enterprise responsible for murder, armed robbery, and more. For 7 months, Gunna sat in a cell, Then, in December, a shockwave hit the streets. He took an offered plea, a deal where you don't admit you're guilty, but you admit the state has enough to convict you. After he was released, he made a statement. While I have agreed to always be truthful, I want to make it perfectly clear that I have not made any statements, have not been interviewed, have not cooperated, have not agreed to testify or be a witness for or against any party in the case, and have absolutely no intention of being involved in the trial process in any way. Gunna was a free man, but in the court of public opinion, where the street code is the only law that matters, his trial was just getting started, and the verdict was swift, brutal, and delivered in one word: snitch.
Gunna Wunna, man. You can't be in the city doing all that ratting and shit. Rat ass nigga.
What?
The backlash was instant. Cats he came up with, like Lil Baby and Lil Durk, started throwing what looked like serious shade. Thug's own family made it clear how they felt. The king of drip was suddenly on an island. Gunna's response? He hit the gym, dropping over 30 pounds in a wild physical transformation, and then he got back in the studio. His comeback album was defiantly titled A Gift and a Curse. On Bread and Butter, he spoke on the allegations directly, but it was another track that proved his real power. You Mean was everywhere, a top 5 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. The album went platinum. He was selling out arenas. The fans never left him. In fact, his numbers were bigger than ever. He had the hits, he had the charts, but he'd lost his circle. Meanwhile, the man who put him on was about to face his own reckoning. With the trial's conclusion, Thug was out but not free. And the question for Gunna was no longer just about loyalty, it was about what comes next when everyone is forced to move on. Gunna's story is a modern hip-hop paradox. A fashion icon who turns around and gives back to his own middle school with free food and clothes.
I'm gonna continue to keep giving back. I'm gonna keep continuing to give back to the world, not just outside the world.
A hit maker who had to defend his freedom in a legal system that's in direct conflict with the culture that birthed him. He still says it's all love with Young Thug, telling everyone our relationship is our relationship. But with Thug now out and serving a long, strict probation that keeps him out of Atlanta, that relationship exists in a new reality. Once the bedrock of his career, it's now a painful and public question mark, defined by distance and circumstance. Gunna mastered the art of drip, a lifestyle of effortless cool and untouchable luxury. But his journey shows the true price of it all, a price paid not in dollars but in loyalty, perception, and the constant bittersweet battle to write your own story. His legacy is still being written, one hit and one headline at a time. Thanks so much for watching. His career has had its share of highs and lows, and I'm genuinely curious to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments. Where do you see Gunna's legacy heading from here? For more stories like this, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Until next time.